What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to Sleeper Garage. I am very excited tonight because I just couldn't wait to show you our next project. This is a 1986 Mitsubishi Starion.
Approach control on second and home. I'll see you later.
Roger.
Of all the sports cars in its class, only Mitsubishi makes one with an intercooled turbocharged engine. Four-wheel disc brakes and race car stands for handling. Starion, ESIR. You don't see a sports car like this every day. And with so few available, you probably won't. Mitsubishi! Starion ESIR.
Nice approach, Roger.
If you've never heard of it before, it's okay. There's a lot of people that have not heard of it either. This is a rear-wheel drive vehicle, which Mitsubishi really wasn't known too much for. They're normally known for either front-wheel or four-wheel drive, you know, all the way back when. This right here actually belongs to my good friend of mine, named Jericho. We picked this up maybe about almost a year ago from this one guy who actually took pretty good care of it. We picked it up for about $1,200. Obviously, it was not running. The engine wasn't even in it. The engine was actually in it, but it was back here in pieces. So, anyway, let me give you a quick walk around and a little bit of info on this car. Okay, it is a factory wide body, which is pretty awesome. You don't see too many cars like this anymore. It also came with factory offset wheels, which is really cool too. Let me go ahead and open her up here. Okay, it is totally 80s in here, as you can see by all the instruments, everything, even the radio. Somebody added a CD changer in the back, but look at that radio, man. That is rad. Look at these big buttons. Tape player. The car was really ahead of its time, actually. It had a lot of instruments, a lot of controls. It had automatic climate control, which was not really common for the era. As you can see, the previous owners, because I'm sure it's had about at least 2 or 3 owners, they took, in my opinion, they took really good care of the car. There's not a crack in the dash. The bolstering's still pretty good on the seats. The leather's a little worn, which is okay. I mean, it is from 1986. So you can see we got a little bit of rips right there, which is okay. Got a really, really big steering wheel, which isn't that cool, but I mean, it is, once again, 1986. Now, this thing originally came with about 190 horsepower, and it was factory turbocharged. And back in the 80s, I don't know if you guys can see it, but if you owned a turbo car, the car really wanted to let everybody know that it was turboed, so pretty much like, don't mess with me. I don't know if it comes in clear, but it does say turbo across the screen there. Sorry for that jumper. I had to pause it because when I was in here on the seat, I was choking on all that 1980s dust and coughing up a storm. Okay, so anyway, the reason for this car was just pretty much to have something really different. I mean, the car alone is pretty rare, so I mean, that in itself is different. We didn't really want to use the original motor that it came with. That's just not our thing. We were trying to figure out what are we going to use in this car that's different. We have seen LS's in here. We have seen 1Js, 2Js, you know, in these things as well. You see a lot of them on YouTube. Even just pretty much just common motors. You can see how long this thing's been sitting. The tires are pretty much rotten. These tires are actually from 2004, so it's probably been sitting for quite a while. I know it's been sitting here for a little bit, so I don't know how long it's been sitting over there, but obviously it hasn't had tires changed since 2004. So anyway, we're trying to figure out what can we put in this thing. We had a crazy idea, and if you noticed in our last episode, the Swifter, the lost footage, I showed a Honda K24, and yes, we decided to put a Honda K24 engine in this. And as far as we know, and been searching, would be the only one in the world that has done that swap onto this vehicle. So I know what a lot of Starion purists and fanatics are gonna say, you know, why are you doing that? Why would you put a motor like that in one of these? And I would tell them, why not? So we already took the liberty in actually fitting the motor already, because I just wanted to make sure 100% that this is the motor we're gonna do. So you can see it is actually sitting there. We had to modify the cross member. So right now it's actually, the cross member's cut. We're gonna have to actually, let me see if we can see right here. You can see it's actually missing the whole center piece, because the K series engines are actually a really tall motor. So we wanted to be able for it to sit down low enough so the hood, the factory hood, can close and you pretty much won't know what's in here. I have seen other swaps with this engine where it kind of sticks up out of the hood and it just kind of kills the sleeper status. I'd rather someone just think it's just a normal Starion. So I'm still choking on the 80s dust. Excuse me. Okay, as far as engine mounts go, obviously there is no engine mount or swap kit for this vehicle. So we try to get something pretty much close, or as close as possible. Maybe with a little modification, it'll work. What we pretty much guessed on was a S2000 K24 swap mount. So I guess S2000s are starting to swap the K24s into their engine bays. So Innovative, is it Innovative? Yeah, Innovate. I can't remember. Innovate is the wideband people. Anyway, Innovative makes the S2000 to K24 engine mounts. So we purchased those from them, and it made the engine, it sat perfect on the cross member, but it made the engine sit way too high. So what we wound up doing was we took a section out of it about good like 3 inches. Right now it's just tack welded right here. You still got to fill it in on that side. But they did come complete, and you can see they do sit on the factory cross member pretty nice. Whether it's just actually just sitting on there, it's not even bolted or secured. You can see on this side too, we had to do the same. We had to make that one pretty short. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wind up reinforcing the cross member, so it can so it's right now it's kind of flexy, but we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and add some bars underneath, because the oil pan does sit pretty low. And we did decide to maintain the factory slant on the engine, so that's the way the factory intended the engine to sit, so we're gonna stay with that. I know I've seen other swaps where they put it kind of straight, but putting it kind of straight makes it a little bit difficult to change the oil, because it'll put the drain at a higher point, and you would actually have to probably siphon it out or pump it out, and no, we're not, we weren't really wanted to do that. So you can see that the drain plug is in a normal serviceable position, so we'll be cool with that. As far as transmission choice went, it seemed like we only had a couple. From what I can see, or what's available, was the Honda S2000 6-speed transmission using an adapter plate and a custom flywheel, or a Mazda Miata transmission with adapter plate and custom flywheel. And those are just a little bit too costly, and I'm not really a big fan of adapter plates. I just feel that they're a little bit weak, and they tend to rattle loose, and you always have to keep checking on them. I preferred something more of like a bell housing. So doing some research, hopped on the internet, seeing who makes that, or if someone can make it. The first people that I remember was Bill's Fabrication. He's a guy out of Ohio who's been making custom bell housings for the 4G63 to swap into rear-wheel drive, which was a popular swap on these vehicles quite a few years ago. And he would make the bell housings that would adapt to a Toyota W-Trans. I gave him a call, and he said he's currently not doing any type of Honda to Toyota or even Honda to T56 transmission yet. So I kept doing a little bit more research, and I came across a company called McGregor Motorsports, and they're actually out of New Zealand. I emailed them, and well, first, McGregor Motorsports, what they do is they custom make bell housings for the K24 to adapt to a Toyota W transmission. What they do is they make Lotus 7 replicas, which is like a Caterham or a Caterham, however you want to pronounce it, and they actually use the Honda K24 with the Toyota W58 trans. So we said, heck yeah, let's go with that. So they were willing to ship their kit out here to us, and for as far as I know as well, we're the only ones out. This is the only car with the McGregor Motorsports bell housing, which is really finely crafted. Actually, it's nice casting on it. And then the transmission that we chose was a W58. We could have went with the 55 out of a Tacoma. It fits that all the way up to a 59. Some slightly stronger ones, like a Supra non-turbo. What we wound up going with was this from a 1988?
MK3.
It's MK3 Supra. So yeah, I know it looks kind of funny. Like it looks like it's just kind of like all this gap right here, but that's actually because the factory Starion transmission has a really high bell housing on it, and since this engine is a little bit bigger, it just appears to be like that, but it's actually right in line, because like I said, you can see how the excess room, you can see where the Starion's bell housing would start right about here and then go all the way up to here. But the W58, it's a lot thinner. So, and then obviously the bell housing is a lot thinner too. So it fits there great. And right now it's actually sitting on the factory crossmember. Where everything sits right now, it sits in a factory position. The Toyota Trans sat perfectly on the Starion's crossmember, transmission crossmember. So all we had to do was drill a couple holes just so we can actually bolt it to it. And that's fine. What we do have to do with the transmission is we do have to extend the shifter housing back probably about a good 4 to 6 inches right here. There's a company that does it called Drift Motion out in Montclair, California. They said they are willing to make us the custom housing, because I believe it's excessive engineering or something like that. They make one that's only about 1.5 inch or 2 inch extension, but I wanted to come out to about right here, so it'll be in the factory shifting area right here. So you can see it. I don't know if you can see the mount sitting there on the factory cross member. So focus here. I just want to focus. Okay. Oh well. So then obviously we got to get a custom drive shaft made. So very cool. Okay. And we do plan to turbocharge it. So it will be turbocharged. The engine will be pretty much factory. So we haven't cut this, but we're just going to consider this a junkyard motor. I've never really been a big fan of Honda, but for whatever reason, they managed to make this a really, really good engine in their K series. They can take a beating. They make quite a bit of power under boost without even cutting into the motor, without changing anything at all. You can see, I'm sure you can see plenty of those on YouTube on what they do with these things. So we want to get a piece of that action. So we're gonna go ahead and turbocharger. We only plan to make maybe about 450 because I'm not too certain on how the rear end is gonna hold up on that. So it is still a factory LSD in the back. I believe it is a viscous LSD. So we'll see how those clutch discs hold up on it. As far as the intake manifold goes, we were trying to come up with a bunch of different ideas, because obviously if the factory one won't fit because the throttle body will be pointing this way. Jericho purchased a Honda S2000, put it on there, and I wasn't a big fan of it. You still got to modify it for it to fit onto these motors. So what we wound up going with, well, we were going to go with like a skunk racing intake manifold, but they're like $750. The ones that we can actually flip the tanks on. and then obviously they'd still be kind of pointing in on an inward direction. I found a company in Florida called Sharp Customs, and they make sheet metal intake manifolds, and they do a beautiful job. And you can see that. I mean, it looks really, really expensive in my opinion. Also, they include a fuel rail there, and also the mounts and everything for it. Now, obviously, this still is would sit in the factory position, which would put the throttle body pointing towards the firewall. So what we're going to actually do is we are going to cut off the flanges, and we're going to flip it over completely. So we'll be pointing in this direction. And that'll look really, really clean too. And then I believe because of on the factory K, they kind of slope inward this way. We're gonna make a cut here so we can mount the throttle body plate pointing out more this way, so we can have a nice run to the intercooler. We will be running K-Pro on it. Pretty much have its own standalone wiring harness. The engine bay kind of looks kind of yucky, but we're gonna clean it up. Jericho wants to shave a lot of this stuff off, these unnecessary brackets that used to hold things that we don't even have anymore, like the cruise control and just some reservoirs and stuff that we can always add. Also, we're going to be eliminating the ABS on it. There's no need for that. And it's just a Evo 10 intercooler. We were just messing around, just putting that there. But yeah, there you have it. That's our next project, and hopefully we can get it up and running soon. I mean, in my opinion, the hard part is done, and that is the mounting, and you know, obviously coming up with the transmission and the adapter, everything. But as everyone mostly knows, that there's a strong aftermarket for the K series, so we're not worried about that at all. Oh, as far as cooling goes, we're gonna be using a lot of K-Pro parts, like this Egr Delete plate, and it actually puts the radiator hose in the upper in a good position here, like so. And then we'll be running these dash 16. We're gonna be running dash 16 hoses to our radiator, which doesn't exist here yet. And then also we'll be running the thermostat housing right here, which goes down below, right down here, also with the dash 16. So both the radiator lines will both be on pretty much on the same side as the radiator, so we kind of need a kind of like an S-flow radiator. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. We have our mind set on exactly what we're gonna do, our path. The next thing to do is to reinforce that cross member, like I had said, and to pretty much, I believe we're going to need to massage the transmission tunnel out a bit, because this transmission is a lot. It's thinner on the top, but it's wider than the Starion transmission, so I don't want to get any type of bad harmonics or anything like that. It vibrating because it's touching, so probably gonna beat out the tunnel there. We need to come up with a way to run the power steering with our intake manifold, so modifying our intake manifold will also be next. Once again, reinforce the cross member, resecure the transmission cross member, and then we can start doing the turbo stuff already. Actually, we're probably going to make the manifold ourselves, because I haven't really found any type of manifold that we could use that would work, because everything, you know, would point the wrong direction. So we're gonna make our own, and then pretty much make our ends for our intercooler, and then start running our fuel. And well, I guess the list kind of goes on and on and on. But hopefully we can have this thing up and running, you know, as long as the cash flows. And maybe in 3-4 months, hopefully, maybe by the end of this year would be great. So yeah, just stay tuned. Stay tuned on this project. Check out my other videos. Like, subscribe, whether you like it or not. You know, leave a comment below or let your hate flow. And okay, from Sleeper Garage, we're gonna wish you a good night, and we'll see you next time. Oh, you know what? Before I forget, quick update on the Subaru. We did take it to its first track night. We got a lot of footage from different angles, inside the car, outside the car. We're still kind of putting that together, but I was real excited on introducing this car to you guys, so I just couldn't wait. So I thought I'd make this quick video. So okay, all right, we'll see you guys next time.
ヘラクレスの愛馬アリオンが今星になって帰ってきた。スタリオン。ターボスペシャリティスポーツスタリオン。